Uh, Two guys, one rack. I'm a big fan of the racks. Just keeping it a rack with you. Actually, I think the term is keeping it a stack. On the attack. Oh, baby, don't throw it back. When you accidentally take your girl to a restaurant that has nothing but full racks going around. Um, I really thought I did something. I really was like, man, you know what? It's our anniversary. It's not. Um, it's our anniversary. I'm going to take you to a place we've never been. Not only was it not that, it was a place full of, how do I say this being very polite? Very vampire looking girls. Very nice. Nothing personal against them, but Jesus, it was a ghost town in there. It was basically like I don't even want to name the place because I had a great time. We had a great time. It was a great time. But let's just say they had some twins peeking from the chest up. I don't know, how does it work? I want to know how these interview process works for these places where these girls are. I don't want to say required because I'm sure it's not required, but I'm sure it's heavily encouraged. And if you actually want to make a meaningful living at these places, you got to, play the part. And how does the interview process go? You go in, they ask you about your experience. Are you comfortable interacting with horny gentlemen? But really, most of the time you're interacting with couples. And the guy may be horny, but, you can't make it obvious that he's horny. Somehow it's probably your job to direct the horniness back to his wife or gal. Actually, I read a story that this girl outed her boyfriend / ex-husband / father of her children for sleeping with her dad. That's not something you find on Facebook Marketplace all the time, but I guess they do got some good deals. Maybe he never had a father. That was the closest thing he had to one. And sometimes it's like, man, when you're so desperate for that attachment, you'll bend over for it. I don't know if he was the one bending over, but either way, bend it like Beckham. I don't know if I would train my kid to do soccer. I wouldn't even know where to start. You don't have to be someone who used to play, American football to be able to teach your son how to run or to have agility or to catch a ball or how to throw a ball relatively. But soccer, when you can't kick or run, where do you start? There's certain sports you could pretend that you have a knowledge of it when you have absolutely no real substantial knowledge outside of the rules of watching. You could watch a sport and then become, a coach for a rec league or become a coach for maybe a middle school or high school team and have no experience yourself, but you have knowledge of the game. Soccer is one of those ones. It's too free-flowing of a sport. There's not real, if you don't understand footwork, if you don't understand, the free-flowing nature of the rarity of how hard it is to score, it's a really tough sport to pretend you fucking know anything about. The thing is, soccer may be the most popular sport in the world, but yet it is probably the sport that the least amount of people could actually teach. And that's the crazy part. Damn, that's kind of a deep thread. Because sometimes some could be so available. It's kind of like your protein bioavailability. Something could be so available that it's actually harder to recruit. And that's why you'll see these 12-year-olds, like, putting these 12-year-olds on these pro teams because, like, hey, if they're 12 and they could play, why wait till they're 20? We don't need them to, grow. We don't need their bone structure to be developed. You just got to run around and, kick the ball. But, yeah. A lot going on out here. Yes. I'm not going to lie to you. This camera angle on this chair is terrible. I did not have time to really figure out how to do this. I'm trying to have it low enough, I want a little leg action, but not too much leg action. I probably should start wearing pants. I want a full body shot. That sounds odd. I want a full frame, I'm a guy. I like watching things in full. I'm not a clip. I'm not a only train the top half type of guy. I'm not someone that just wants to make the good parts look good and, make things look good for camera and all about the lighting. Like, the lighting is terrible right now. And I'm still a very appealing fella. God, I really am pale. Like, this light that's shining on my leg, it's not reflecting too much. It's pretty, it's absorbing it. I think that's how it works. The lighter your skin is. Oh, I'm about to get some deep, dark territory here. But I literally mean the lighter your skin is. So on my complexion. I think there's nowhere for the light to go but inside of me. Like, there's no reflecting off into radiating the people around me. Like, no. I'm absorbing that sunlight, and it's going nowhere else, My skin color is going to change within the next 24 to 48 hours with the overexposure to heat. And apparently these lights on these movie sets are apparently so hot that they legitimately can only film for minutes at a time for certain things because these lights will just make the actors or the people start sweating. And depending on what the thing's happening, you don't really want them to be sweating. I was listening to something about Russell Crowe. And he apparently had to do a movie where he had a tarantula. The scene was he had to lay down. Wow, it's actually nice to be able to spread my legs out. Pause. He actually had to do a scene in a movie where he was laying down, and the shot was he's laying down, and a tarantula crawls from his chest or his belly button, whatever, like his lower chest, and they get the tarantula crawling into his mouth for literally 1 or 2 seconds, and then they have a guy pluck the tarantula out of his mouth, So that's scary. That's one thing within itself. And these are big old furry fellas. Now I'm talking about, these furry friends of yours that want to do things with you. These are not the type of furry friends you want to be around. They do not want to have a voracious time. I'm such a fool. That was actually terrible. Even for my standards, that was pretty bad. But, yeah. These 8-legged freaks. Look, I don't mind a few legs being in my mouth, That sounded wild. I just mean, some guys like legs. Now, if you're a guy that's really into legs, I don't know if that translates to amphibians or reptiles, which I think is what spiders are. So if you're a guy that's really into feet, wouldn't you really be into spiders? And wouldn't you really like the feeling of a bunch of just walking things? Some of these guys like it when the ladies walk all over them. So why not just have a spider do it? But the tarantula goes in his mouth for a brief second, and then they pluck it out. Now, apparently behind the scenes, they told him it's not venomous and all this stuff. he was talking to the spider guy because they're doing 8 or 9 takes of this shit. And he's like, what do you mean we can't take the venom out? And that's when he realized, like, oh, this thing is venomous. So apparently they did 8, 9 takes in the day. The next day, comes back. Next day, he comes home, and he's getting all these rashes. And apparently these rashes were from the hair follicles on the spider. Can just cause a reaction of the skin, you know. And he didn't get bitten or anything like that, more than likely. But he, yeah. It's crazy how, but it's almost like a microcosm of life in a way. I don't know if life is the right term. I hate people, oh, this is a microcosm of life, you know. Sometimes life slaps you in the face and you slap her ass back, you know. You let her know I'm not going down without a fight. But no, sometimes the thing that you worry about going into your mouth turns out to be a complete different problem you have. He was worried about the spider crawling in his mouth, going down his body, or biting him. And then it ends up a complete different situation happens. Just the thing being on him, the hair, the reactions to his skin is what caused issues. So sometimes the scariest thing isn't really what's scary. It's the things that you don't take in consideration as you're walking to it. No pun intended. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of spiders. If I had to be, like, you know, it's almost like Fear Factor. Would you rather be in a tub full of spiders or be in a tub full of snakes? I genuinely do not know. I think spiders, just too many legs on you. There's just something about too many things touching you. You know, I'm not the touchiest of feeling a guy. So just having something touch me all over my body that's hairy, you know. Typically I prefer, you know, things that aren't hairy to touch me. Because typically, ladies aren't going to have hair on them. Or at least they shouldn't have too much hair. A little hair is okay. But, you know, it shouldn't be visible. Especially not around the goatee. Goatee. That was somebody I used to know. All right, Clint. That was. But yeah, I like this chair though. You know, it actually feels like I'm a professional. Not the whole camera setup, but you know, I actually feel relaxed. I kind of feel like Steve from Blue's Clues right now. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I'm just sitting in my thinking chair. Except I don't have much to think. I would write in my notepad, but I'm out of pencils. And I would give you a clue, but damn, my balls are blue. And that's where Blue's Clues fucked up. They started making dogs different colors, purple, green, and started giving it a British accent. And that's where it all fucked up. You know, they put this Dora the Explorer mop-headed British guy on TV, and it just kind of fucked everything up. You know, I liked him. He's a cool guy. But, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, welcome to episode 295. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. Of the Offbeat Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Most important, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. Jesus, I just remember my camera battery's not fully charged, so this will be a shortcut episode. Recording this on August 24th. I think August 24th, like 11:30. I don't know. Hey, actually, let me look at this beautiful phone. And I ain't gonna lie, it's exactly August 25th at midnight Eastern. For the archives. Which I just realized as I'm wearing a Lakers shirt. Didn't even realize. 8:24. That is, I think, some with Kobe. It is his numbers. 8:24:24. Damn. But you know what's crazy? I will say this, and I have to catch myself. I've had my phone for 2 days. When you use to a device that's incompetent, you kind of get adjusted to not actually being on your phone that much. I used to judge people. I still do. Don't get me wrong. I'm always judging you. Don't get me wrong. Which, by the way, Judge Mathis divorced after 39 years. Just goes to show you no one is safe. But I honestly really see how people can get addicted to these phones. I've had this new phone that moves at lightning fucking speed. Like, oh my God, it never is slow. And worst of all, the phone never fucking dies. This thing will literally, like, I've been watching shit on it all day. Like, literally, I started the day with like 99%. I've not put on the charger once. It is midnight. And I've gone this thing regularly. I've watched hundreds of unnecessary YouTube videos, gone on the internet, have made bets. It's at 45 fucking percent. I don't know how any of y'all fucking run out of battery out here. Like, what the fuck are y'all fucking doing on this shit? Like, generally, like, I understand more of running out of gas. And that's almost an inexcusable excuse. Like, unless you literally have no fucking money to get gas, but to not pay attention to the thing that's very flagrantly in front of flagrantly some of our cars need some fragrance, don't get me wrong. It's God, Clint, you can't fucking talk. This is how you know I'm rusty. Oh jeez. Whew, I really need to get back on the dark horse, which apparently Katy Perry sucks at making music now. But hey, she seems like a girl that could work at Twin Peaks back in the day. If she kissed a girl, I think we would all like it. Now we just wanted to shut the fuck up and not kiss anything. Oh, Jesus. But, you know, it's honestly, in my opinion, it is more inexcusable for your phone battery to die than it is for your car to run out of gas. I'm sorry. Like, your car gives you way too many warnings. You can read your dashboard. There are gas stations literally every half of a mile now. Even in the most eclectic, the most just like abandoned places, there is at least a gas station every 3 miles at worst. There are 24-hour gas stations all across the board. I mean, like, literally, you cannot pass a single green light without passing a Quick Trip. It really is inexcusable to run out of gas out here. I don't mean sound insensitive. I understand it happens. I've had a couple close calls. But, like, the leeway your car has for you not to run out of gas is insane. But for you to run out of battery, I've had this phone all fucking day, bro. I have not had to charge it. And I've barely only used over half of it. My other phone, like, you know, just leaving it out for 10 minutes is going to lose 10%, bro. And I understand new phones age over time, things die faster. I get it, you know. But it really is no excuse. Like, you people that are like always have no fucking battery, where you have no percentage on your phone all the time. You legitimately have an issue. Because I have an issue the past day or two. And my phone is like, nah, keep using me, bitch. Use me. You know, my phone is like a porn star, you know. It's just ready on the spot. It don't matter what you do to it. It don't matter how many scenes it's done that day. It doesn't matter how many scenes you watched on that phone that day. it's got you covered, you know? It's always ready. But yeah, I guess that's really what the 5Gs are for. 5G spots at a time. No one knows about that though. But yeah, that's the beauty. I literally feel like an old ass dude. I feel like a time traveler that's been dropped off in the future. And legitimately, I am so like new to this technology. And I'm 28 years old. You think I'm more in tune with this technology stuff than anyone? I realize when you've had a shitty ass electronical device situation that you have made work, which is almost an amazement within itself. Like, I gotta pat myself on the back. I'm really survivalist out here, you know? I really could live in the mountains. I don't know, to be honest, but, you know, that's what I like to tell myself. I'm only soft out here because I can be. If I was out there, I would make it work. But neither here nor there. It really is amazing how... It really is amazing to me how these devices really dictate our life. I've had the phone for literally 2 days. And like how much I have been lost in it and how much is deterred from me, I've really had to check myself. And I get it. It may be like, you know, I'm in the infatuation stage. I'm not doing anything different. But my phone doesn't even need to stop me. My phone's not going to die randomly. The battery's not going to pop out. It's not going to just start slowing up or I get frustrated and be like, fuck it. I'll do anything else but deal with this. It's legitimately never has a problem. And that's a problem. I want problems. We need technology to give us problems just so we can stop using it, you know? I think maybe, I know this may be a crazy theory, right? I remember back in the day they probably still do it once. There would be like once or twice a year. These Disneys, these Nickelodeons, and these kids channels. To get kids to go outside and get away from TV, they would have like 12 hours where they would show no programming, and it would be like basically go outside day. Basically, hey, stop watching TV today, go outside. And kids would just rather look at something on a screen that says, we don't have anything on, than to go outside and, you know, whatever. I think really honestly, and I'm not joking when I say this, I think there should be like a once every 2 or 3 months where all business, all work has to stop for just an 8-hour period one day. They could pick, it could be a Sunday where no one gives a fuck, no one cares about fucking. It's mandatory to have like a state of emergency where there's no work, no nothing. So there's no excuse to have phones, and all technology is just, you cannot use it except if it's to call 911 or something. Where like all these phone services team up with everything and they just shut down phone service. I honestly think for 8 hours, it could go one of two ways. You know, people can interpret that and be like, hey, this is the purge, you know. And I think also it will get people comfortable like, hey, we can actually go hours without the reliance on this, you know. I really do think that would be the best, you know. I think it would be something to consider. Is it realistic? No. I know it's not realistic. Maybe do it. You probably can't do it worldwide or even North America or USA. You know, maybe do it like state by state. You know, do it in states that no one cares about, you know. Like, you know, Ohio. Actually, Ohio is a pretty damn important state. It literally determines the elections most years. Let's just say, like, no one cares about, you know, Virginia. Nothing against Virginia. I drove through it one time. I went to a restaurant. I ordered ginger ale, and they gave me tonic water. I was like 9 years old. And that was my impression of Virginia. And train. Meet Virginia. It's weird how Virginia has virgin in it. I don't know if it has anything to do with anything. But Virginia, Virgin IA. But if you reverse IA, you get AI. So really, it's Virgin Artificial Intelligence. And that's when you get creeps that have, robots for girlfriends. Now, I'm not against it. We can say what we want about desperate guys in society, trying to release themselves, let's just say. I would rather a guy be into this artificial love and fall in love with something that's not real, but makes them feel real, and they at least feel connected to society, than these guys that are going out there and causing havoc and blaming women for not finding them attractive and saying, leave the real woman to the guys, y'all can have these. I say y'all, like, there's nothing wrong with it, There's probably a point in time in my life I probably could have used a little fake love. Straight up to my face. I'm such a fool. That's one of those forgotten Drake hits. Wow, I'm kind of on a roll right now. But that's one of those forgotten Drake hits. Like fake love. Straight up to my face. It's kind of obnoxious. Someone pointed out today, I heard it today, where Golden Corral is one of those places where as a kid, for some reason, it was fucking amazing. And as an adult, you realize how poor it is. Like how porous the food is. I went there recently. I thought the food was still okay. But obviously as a kid, the pizza tastes different. This, that, everything just tastes more. As you get older, your palate adapts. You start drinking things that mess up your taste buds. You start eating bland food. You start getting older. Things change, your interests change. So you may have tried higher quality stuff. So now, you have to be in a really type of mood to want that, And, shit, I forgot the point I was going with it. God damn it, Clint. I fucking lost my train of thought. God damn it. Well, I made it this far. Not too bad. So yeah, Golden Corral is one of those places where, I'm just giving an example where, as when you're younger, it tastes, if the feeling of being there, the nostalgia, it's just like, yeah, we're going to go. When you get older, it's like, to go alone, yeah, I don't know. When you have options, when you have tried and you have different, it's not going to be a place you go by yourself. And I think that's what some of these old Drake hits, believe it or not, remind me. Like, this used to be the number one hit, Fake Love. I'm a Drake fan, and it's an okay song for what it is. But man, we used to just hype anything during certain periods of time because they were popping. And I think that's the thing, like with Drake, like as great of music he makes, as much of hits, there are some hits that he had, like number one hits that this was artificially a number one hit. Like no one listens to this, like, yep, that was a number one hit charter. Some artists, when they're just like on a momentum that's an unstoppable force, when they're like a Chili's corn on the cob going down a Wyoming cheese hill, there's just this momentum that there is nothing that can stop it. We will convince ourselves. I know them all over. There are these theories that Glorilla, which, by the way, she kind of sounds like the female version of Kevin Gates. That's not an insult. I'm just saying. People are making accusations. Or there's really, people that are deep into industry conspiracies, people that want to pull the veil of They believe that Glorilla is being forced to sell her body, to sell her image as sex for marketing and selling it. They believe she's being forced to. You know, it's like, or that's just the music she has decided to make, and that's how you market the music when it fits that description. You know? I think sometimes we overthink these things. Yes, you have to market exactly what the theme of your music is, because if it doesn't match it, then the audience that you're marketing it to is not going to trust what they're being marketed, and then they're going to completely just ignore anything that's marketed to them. And once you lose that credibility with the audience, then all of a sudden, you got a Mr. Beast. It's crazy how we've had a Mr. Beast but never a Mrs. Beast. And you ever notice, and look, I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, females don't have a fair shake and things. I will say this. Mr. Beast has like 145 million subscribers. We have all these guys with 40 million, 30 million, 20 million. I'm sure there's people out there with 60, 70, 80 million. But it's weird how these channels that have like these hundreds of millions, 80, 70, 60 million, they are never channels that are in my algorithm. Like, I almost never get recommended any of these videos. I'm assuming if someone's getting 120 million views, every single person on fucking earth is getting promoted that shit. And that is just not the case. I will say, I'm not saying there's sexism played here. I'm not saying there's some... I genuinely just think this is just maybe human nature, and how maybe... Because men will have a harder time following a channel that is woman-led, or where the woman is the voice or the figurehead, than when it's a guy. I think even on YouTube, women are probably a little bit more open-minded to channels they follow, or channels that they subscribe to, or channels that they consistently listen or watch. Typically, we're going to gravitate to our gender. That's just the way it is, because typically our gender has a more understanding of our day-to-day feelings, thoughts, and our struggles, and what we're going through, because as a guy and a girl, we go through different things in this world. So we're typically going to gravitate to the people that we feel have an understanding, even when it's just humor that is irreverent humor, even when it's just things that are just nothing serious, it's just fun stuff. But behind the jokes, behind all that, you can still sense that. You still sense that connection of understanding. So I think that's why there may never be... I'll just even put it on the lower end. I don't think there's ever going to be a woman YouTuber that's going to have 50 million subscribers. And 50 million is still an absurd amount. So, you could put it down to 30. I'm sure, I think Lily probably had like 20. But I think the top dominated in these YouTube and media stuff, it's always gonna be male dominated. Not because one's more right than wrong, but I think it's just typically how we've been kind of trained over time, what people are more comfortable with. Guys are just always going to have a harder time listening. And it's going to sound weird, but I'm not saying this is how I am. I think guys are always just going to have a hard time wanting to listen to women's opinions when guys feel like their struggles are harder. Guys are always not really they're going to roll their eyes when women are making fun of guys and stuff like that, or when we're the butt of the joke. And look, it's like that thing where guys typically don't find women funny when it comes to stand up or even just humor. Like, there's women that are funny, but the general consensus is, it's very rare that a girl can consistently make a man laugh in that type of specific context. And I think maybe, and some I thought, like, I don't know if, for better or worse, I shouldn't say better or worse because I'm not saying it's right, but I don't think the top, in terms of numbers, subscribers, or viewers on these platforms, is ever going to be specifically a woman, and whether that's right or wrong is what it is. I think it's just how things are right now. I think it's just how guys typically have a hard time taking leadership advice. They have a hard time taking any type of strong conviction from the opposite sex. And even nowadays, most people just have a hard time taking direction from anyone because they would rather die on this earth or go around this earth butting their head against the wall all day and, do it their way, figure it out, instead of actually listening to people with more experience or people that have your best interests. And, I don't know. Something I thought about. But yeah, to more serious stuff. Have you ever busted a kneecap? I'm just kidding. Busted capping you. We do glorify a lot of things I'm not sure we should. There's nothing more weird, this is going to be kind of a weird topic coming from someone that looks like me. 'Cause I'm not really even into digesting this type of content because really I have no understanding. I've never lived it. It's not something I would desire to want to live. I mean, to learn about it and to understand it would be, one thing. But we do have this glorification of wanting from outside, from people who are not from these tough parts in even America, but honestly the world. We have this heavy obsession with the infatuation with prison life. We have this infatuation with killings. We have this infatuation with gangs and all this stuff. And it's typically, the ironic part is the people that hype it up are people who want to see crime, who want to see things get worse for entertainment than they do to actually like care about the situation. What I mean by that is a lot of these people online that are obsessed with like the O Block. They're obsessed with gangs. They're obsessed with all the real life street crime, the real life street life. And it's people that look like me. It's people that have never been close to that type of environment. But they want to sit here and talk about street cred and snitching and, oh, you don't do that, You always protect each other, It's like, you guys have no idea what that real life is about. It's people talking from the internet. They watch too many of these compilation cop videos of interrogations and all this stuff, and they think they know everything about the street life, and then they try to incorporate it into hip-hop, and then it's people that have a lot of opinions about things, but they never actually have to live it. And that's where it always gets weird with these beefs in hip-hop. That gets weird as a fan. Is when you're an outsider, when you're not someone that's either a part of hip-hop culture, like you didn't really grow up around it, you didn't really like live it, it's not really in your blood. You may enjoy listening to the music, but it's not really like you. if that makes sense. Like, you can enjoy genre of music. You can enjoy an artist that does music. It can even be your favorite music. But it may not necessarily be your life, if that makes sense, right? Two things can be true. And I think people think just because they're into a certain music, because they're into certain genres of music, or they're into cultures, or they're into cultures that are predominantly a race, they think they have an access. They think they have a freedom, or they think they have a say about things that they really don't understand, or they don't live. So when these beefs happen, the first thing is as fans, we want to create division, right? And look, we could go to the simplest, and this is probably not the best example because Drake is not really a street guy, even though, he'll tell you. But the thing that gets dangerous about when we hype up, when we try to cause more angst in these beefs, is we are potentially causing more division within the real parties for something bad to really happen because of pressure from fans. And I think fans do need to start having a responsibility to not hype things up to potentially cause fatal situations. Because sometimes these artists, they feel backed into a corner that the only way they could maybe maintain respect is if people fear them when they're being challenged. And when you have these situations with beef, part of, to my understanding, a lot of hip-hop culture is that the second people feel like when you're talking about certain things in your music, like Drake does, like you're gonna, send chubs out, you're gonna do this, that, and the other. You send all these threats out that if you mess with me, we're gonna have blood on the leaves, stuff like that. You're putting people in a corner that if you challenge them so much, they may have to do some just so people know to take them serious. Because once you lose credibility in what you're saying in a genre of music like that, or even country music, for example, is that when people feel like it's not just about the entertainment value. Like, people actually have to feel like you are what you talk about. And hip hop and country is one of those genres of music where just sounding good, at least to people that really are in it for the music, people that listen to the music, is if they feel like the person speaking about it, what they're talking about, it doesn't match with what the energy you feel, or do you really think they're about that, as they say, then it immediately turns you off. It makes you question things, and it makes you like, over time you kind of like, And same with country music. Like, if you're a true diehard country fan, one of the things that real country fans have an issue with newer artists, let's just say in the past decade, is the sound has obviously changed where it doesn't even sound like country, for one. But when the person that's singing and they're still talking about dirt roads and all this stuff, and you're like, you don't know nothing about a clodhopper. You don't know nothing about, Fords. You know nothing about stereotypical country stuff. But you're talking about being an outlaw. You're talking about just being a redneck and all this stuff. But you aren't that. It immediately, you can get blackballed. You can immediately, people just completely stop listening to you. Because just your music sounding good isn't enough when it comes to the trueness of what you're speaking about. So I just think that as fans of music, we got to be careful about when these beefs are happening. We should enjoy it in the same way we do with all of them. Like, it's entertaining. People love it when someone's getting kicked down. People love it when someone is just beating someone down, per se. But these things can escalate outside of just the music, as we've seen, because these things can get really personal. And we just gotta understand that to everyone it's just a game. Like, oh, he ain't gonna do shit. You know, he a bitch and all this stuff. Like, okay. Well, Blueface I think he just got a 4-year prison sentence. We got artists out here getting sentences left and right. So, is it really worth the entertainment to see one of your favorite artists go to jail for 8 years just because they maintain respect? Is it really worth it? I don't know. I'm just an outsider speaking about it. So, I don't know. It's just always weird. We have this, especially suburban America. This isn't even race specific. It's generally people that aren't from these areas. We have this fascination with it. So we try to adopt an image to be deemed. I think that was the thing with John Morant that people had issues with, is he's going above and beyond to show everyone he's about a life and people's opinions are about that life. When you're really about it, you're not going to be that open about it. You're going to be a lot more discreet about it until situations call for those situations that happen. So we just got this warped sense, I think, with younger America, that we are obsessed with wanting to be the image. We want to be the thing that the people who are in the thing would tell you this is not the life you want. So, you know, just my thoughts, whatever that means to you. But yeah, I think the moral of today's pod is, damn, this chair is really fucking nice. I really like this chair. Once I figure out these camera angles and all this stuff, you're going to see the whole body. I don't think any of y'all have ever seen my whole body. Actually, that's not true. But that's weird. Hopefully y'all haven't seen my whole body. You know, content guidelines. But you know, my goal is I want to create an atmosphere of relaxation. And there's nothing more relaxing when when you can see the legs. It just creates, I do think there's just something when you just see someone's full comfort level. You just feel like, I'm sitting here talking to this guy. And sometimes you'll see people like, man, I'm so glad I'm not here talking to this guy. Yeah. But yeah. Moral of today's pod is, make sure y'all know your anniversary. And make sure I think next time I take my lady or take any of my friends to a place that I'm not too familiar with, I think I'm going to be like, hey, what do the waitresses wear? Just asking. Trying to avoid some awkwardness here. Oh, God. But that's what makes this life fun. It's the honest mistakes that you could just laugh at. It's like having babies. It's just an honest mistake. Oh, baby, 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 baby. And Ashanti did have a baby. And, I think Nelly may have took a few more ecstasies after that. Chances are he probably took ecstasy and got her pregnant. That's probably how it happened. So, nothing to make fun of. Not making fun of it. But it is weird how she had a baby and the headline. And everyone I saw the headline. I think it was like Hot 97. And I was like, the comment section better roast this shit, right? The comment section said, Nelly congratulates Ashanti having her first child. And I'm like, why is he congratulating her for having their child? That's a weird thing. I checked in the comments, and everyone was like, you mean their child? And it's like, the whole comment section was roasting. Like, oh, this was definitely some feminist woman that wrote this shit. Having to emphasize that it's her child, not his child. It's like, it's their child. It's like, I'm pretty sure he didn't like, hey, congratulations on your child. Hope it works out for you two. It's like, no, I'm sure Nelly was there. I'm sure he was I don't know what their co-parenting situation. They're together. I know they're together, whatever. But to say her child, like it's their child, like the weird part is that person that wrote that title had to go out of their way. They made an emphasis to say hers when they mentioned the kid's father in the same sentence. Like, that's the part. It would have just, like, it'd been one thing you just put Ashanti had her first child. Or congratulations to Ashanti having her first child. Like, fine. You want to act like the dad's not there. You want to act like Nelly's not part of the picture, whatever. But when you said Nelly, congratulations to Ashanti on her first child, it's like, he's congratulating their child. And it's just crazy. Like, that's the type of media we live in. And now, the baby's birth announcement is always going to be scarred. And that's going to live in history and infamy. That 8 years from now, I'll be like, Mom, how come it says your child, not his? It's weird. It's just this dumb shit. Like, honestly, I think that these media, these news outlets like that, y'all should be, like, legitimately fined for that shit. Like, there's too much leeway with media titles. Like, a lot of these things are absurd. But I'm going to end it there. But yeah, that was episode 295. Jesus Christ. Episode 295 of the Offbeat Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, most important ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to suck some titties. I don't think I said that at the beginning of the show or the middle. But hey, stay till the end. You get the big old milky surprise. But yeah, have a great day, morning, night, evening, and there will be more episodes coming your way. This new chair has brought inspiration that even God would be thinking a thing or two about. Which next episode, we'll get into Noah's Ark. Because she know I got that ark for her. Oh, Jesus.